morning, good morning, good morning. It's 9:19 on a Wednesday morning here in Gettysburg, 51 degrees. And it's another beautiful day. Another beautiful day. Heading in to the studio to, let's see, I need to edit and post some shows for Monday. And what else? I need to. What's going on up here? Okay. Oh, and then have a show to record with Dr. James about colorizing old photos. And I'm going to try to figure out a way where he can kind of interact, like maybe demonstrate. I don't know. He's coming in at 2. I hope he has enough time to kind of explore and figure things out for a bit, because it might be visually interesting, and of course first lieutenants are going to get to see it as we do it, but it's about colorizing old photos. We've all seen them. There's that MyHeritage app that you just put a photo in and it colorizes it, but that's not really how it's done. There's ways to get more accurate colors, but it is very time consuming and very involved. You gotta know what you're doing, and so James is gonna show us some of that, because he does that, and yeah, so that's what I've got on the agenda. He says we'll be in Gettysburg next Wednesday evening for a couple days. Oh, well, let's definitely get together then, Dustin. Let me know when you're here. Give me like a couple days notice to remind me, because everybody tells me that they're coming into town, and I can't possibly keep track. But just give me a reminder a few days early. If I have some kind of plans or whatever, like dinner plans or whatever, you're always welcome to join us, because usually we go out in a group or something like that. If you're going to be here Thursday, which I guess you will because you're coming in Wednesday, why don't you sit in for AG today, and then we'll go out to dinner together, all of us. Hey Alex, how you doing? Good to see you. Fraser babies, good morning to you. Good morning, Lucy. Traveler, how are you, son? Ty Webb, good morning to you, Ty. Andy, good morning as well. Hey, all training people at work, just stopping by to say hi. Well, good. Have a good time training. Morning, David. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Barbara. Barbara is in the AG Film Club, and we discussed Gone with the Wind last night. Gone with the Wind. And hoofa. What a long movie that is. It's very fascinating. Casey's going to send me the video of it, and that'll go up on Patreon. I forget. I think I make that available to everybody. I'm not sure. I'll have to go and look and see last month's. But yeah, it is a long movie, but I find it very interesting. And when we were discussing it last night, one of the points I made was that, like, when I watch an old movie, I don't bring today's sensibilities into it. Although, of course, there's sometimes something so glaring where you can't help but go, "Oof, couldn't make that today," something like that. A lot of people seem to get personally offended by things they have nothing to do with, no control over, because they're long before they were ever born. I never understood that mentality, but I'm not that way. I take it for what it is, and I'm just happy that I don't live in a time where certain things are acceptable. But Gone with the Wind, yeah, it's a long one. But that's the thing, like, that's what's so fascinating about it. Just the length of time alone is a lesson in history. Cultural history, or maybe even human evolution, because there was a time where human beings could go and sit in a theater for 4 hours or more, make a whole day out of going to see movies and stuff, and they would sit and they would let the filmmakers tell the story in the time it took to tell the story. And they had an attention span, and but they didn't have all the other things that we have today, which ruined our attention span. So it's very interesting. If you haven't seen Gone with the Wind, as a Civil War student, I think you should see it, regardless of how sensitive you are to things, for the fact that you just need, because it was such an influential movie, I think, and a lot of other people think, in just how we look at the Civil War. And if we're going to undo the BS of the lost cause, we have to expose ourselves to it so that we can identify it, I think. Some people say, no, I don't need to expose myself to it. It's well, then that tells me your mind is weak and you're afraid that you're going to be convinced that that's the way to think, and that's silly. I'm sure your mind is stronger than that. Anyway, it was nice to interact with Barbara with voices instead of just text messages last night. Not text messages, but comments. Ricky, how you doing? Paul, how you doing? Ghost, good morning. Snow and crappy weather. Oh God, too early for snow. Oy vey. Oh, thank you. Good morning, Dragoon. Morning, Eric from, what is that? Mexico. Oh, Mexico, where diarrhea likes to flow. I guess you're on a business trip, or is that vacation, Eric? Must be nice and hot down there. Good morning, Jennifer. How are you? Good morning, Guitarzan. Good morning, Christine. Christine, you were in film club last night as well. It was a great discussion, Barbara. I really like that group. I gotta tell you, man, this is such a great, and I'm not kissing the audience's ass here, like, it really is a great group of people that have coalesced around all the things that we do with addressing Gettysburg. It's just everybody's nice, and everybody's respectful of each other's opinions, and I think, can we just give a round of applause to Casey Turbin? He did a great job with that last night. Also, if books are more your thing and you haven't joined the club, you really need to. I might lose service here in a second. Let me just get past the point where I always lose service. Let's see. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. All right, I think we're in the clear. Now, what was I saying? I forget. When the snow comes to tell the ground. Oh, yeah, book club. If books are more your speed, you got to join the book club. It's Addressing Gettysburg Book Club at gmail.com. Send an email, get on the list, get involved. If you want to do the film club, it's agfilmclub1863 at gmail.com. Steve does the book club, Casey does film club. Give them some time to respond to you. They have lives and jobs that take precedent over this, so they're not constantly checking the book or film club email. So give them a little bit of time. I hear from people saying, I sent them an email, why haven't I heard back? I don't know. I'm not in charge of them. I support what they do with whatever they ask me for, but I'm not the boss of them in that regard. So they'll get to you in their own good time. Morning, BKW. How are you? Jerry, good morning. Barbara says it's sort of like that controversy over the song Baby It's Cold Outside, making a mountain out of a molehill. Oh, I agree with you, Barbara. Sometimes I think these people just come up with these controversies just to get a rise out of sane people. I really do. I don't think anybody is serious. No, you know what? No, I've been seeing too many videos since this whole Palestine thing started, and I think people are seriously evil. I don't get the thrill that people get at. Like, why aren't you just trying to have a life? Have a life. Try a life. Lives are fun. It's fun to have a life. Go find one and have it. All right, there you go. Jamie says, wasn't the last Marvel movie 4 hours? Is it? Oh, I don't know. I don't pay. Jamie was also in there. I don't pay attention to that, Jamie. I like things that actually happened. Like I never got into the superhero stuff. Although the Batman, I do like Batman. But like Michael Keaton Batman and The Dark Knight, those were. Oh, look at this! They're fixing the stone wall, or are they rebuilding it? Yeah, they're rebuilding it. Wow, that's cool. See, folks, your tax dollars at work. Always doing something here at the park. Edward, morning. Tommy Canavan's there. 4-hour movies were great to go to in summer, and you had. Oh yeah, I remember when we would rent a house at the beach. You know, a lot of them didn't have air conditioning. At the best, they would have window units, but most of them just had fans. And you would open the window at night and hope that there's a nice, cool ocean breeze coming in. And there usually wasn't. But yeah, on a rainy day, like you kind of hope for a rainy day because it would be cooler, but you could also go and sit in air conditioning and go see the movies. Eric's work trip, 60s in the morning and 80s during the day. Nice. Flying home today. We'll have a safe flight. Barbara says Casey does really well. He really does. James says he's an awesome moderator. He is. He's very prepared. I've always admired people who can prepare. I always think I would be really good if I could prepare. If I could just take the time and prepare for things instead of wing it. You know, I just always feel like I would maybe be more proud of myself if I prepared something. Ty Webb. Eric, so chilly today. Hot tamale. Gotcha. So chilly today, hot tamale. Not one of your best, Eric. I'm Ty. You've done better. Heinous Nene says, I'm going to join the book club just so I can tell everyone the movie was better. That's a good idea. Eric says, Ty, just some salsa on an omelet for me today. Last night was a big traditional meal. I just made sure to avoid the water. Is that still true about the water? You think Mexico has maybe learned to, take better care of the water? Especially in the resort areas. Good morning, Marcy. Jennifer says, did you see the Flash movie with Michael Keaton played Batman again? No, I didn't. I might watch it just for that. Did he say, I'm still Batman? Barbara says, I wanted to listen to Monday's drive since I missed so much. Due to the, hold on, let me turn here. Due to the dropouts, I couldn't find it. You didn't post that one? I don't. So sometimes after a video is done, I stop it, and maybe I close the app too soon after stopping it, or I don't know what happens, but I have like when I go into my YouTube account, sometimes I'll have like 4 videos that say processing failed or error during processing or something like that. And they're like 4 or 5 days old. And so I don't know if they archive. I never go to check. So sometimes I think they don't process. Other times I just close them and make them members only. And so, yeah, because I'm not sure what I want to do still. And, I don't know. Yeah. I kind of like, there's a discussion here amongst the same handful of people, which I like, but I can see the numbers, and there's far more people just lurking than there are interacting, and I don't know who they are. And then when it goes out there, you don't know who watches. So I kind of like that even though I know it's not a private conversation, I do like the conversation with, the same people. And I don't know, for some reason I feel like making that private afterwards. If you catch it while it's live, okay, but if you don't, then you missed it. I don't know. I have a very uncomfortable relationship with these drive videos. I don't know why. I says, it's supposed to be a bad joke. Okay, there you go. Then he says, thank you, Eric. True art takes time to appreciate. See, now that was funny. The Batman movie with Robert Pattinson was great. I tried, but I just don't see him as a manly man, like a superhero type. I just don't get it. He's a good actor. I just don't see him in that type of a role. Why are there parking spaces in the middle of this lane? Did you see that? Kevin says, don't drink any water in Mexico, even if it's bottled and says purified. Beer only. Well, that makes sense. I read somewhere that, in the olden days in Europe, everybody drank ale because of that reason, because the water was bad. These people were tanked 24/7. I thought Mr. Mom was... Yeah, I thought, not obviously that movie, but I thought Michael Keaton was more masculine. The idea of manly has changed over the years. Now you have to look like Jason Momoa, but I think back then, I think he was more masculine than Robert Pattinson. Absolutely. Not much, but he did a good job though as Batman. I felt that, I believed that. I remember Bruce Wayne is supposed to be, like a handsome, rich guy. He's not supposed to be, jacked. He's supposed to be a regular guy that, nobody would suspect. And then his muscle suit is makes him look jacked. See, Paul says no ice, and I was there when I was 18, and I had ice in my drinks, and I didn't have any problems. I might have had a stronger constitution back then, but... Because they also say don't eat the salad or something like that because they wash it with their water. Who knows? Yeah, the water in Gettysburg is not the best. I remember when it was so long ago. When I lived in town, I would turn the shower on at certain times during the year, and if I closed my eyes, I would think I was in a public pool. The smell of chlorine was so strong, and it wasn't just once in a while they'd shock this system or whatever. It was all the time for a long period of time. And I don't know what that was. I never drank the water from the tap in the house. Even with a Brita filter. I got a Brita filter and it still didn't do enough. Did not like the water. Yet, at restaurants, I don't mind drinking the water. And I wonder if it's because the ice that they put in it, being that it's so cold, I can't taste all of the... I've never noticed the smell of chlorine at a restaurant. Do they have extra filters on their water, maybe? I don't know how that all works. That could be. BKW says, I found your channel when you were doing your morning drive. I was visiting Gettysburg at the time. Not sure I would have found your podcast if it... No, I understand. And that was part of the reason for doing it. What I think I need to just do is either do them less frequently. We talked about this the other day. Do them less frequently, once or twice a week. And or if there's some kind of event like snow or... wildfires or, something. Or if I have something historical to share. There's been a few comments lately, what does this have to do with history and where's the history? And those are obviously people who just stumbled on these videos and haven't explored the channel. But there's a point to that. Again, Hungry Hippo came in. What the hell? Saying that, and that's an expectation that I think is a reasonable expectation for somebody stumbling on a channel called Addressing Gettysburg. Although the word addressing should indicate that, well, maybe not. Maybe I think people think too much. But the whole idea of addressing Gettysburg, really, if you if I had written it correctly, it would be addressing, quote, Gettysburg, end quote. It's not just the battle, it's Gettysburg, the battle, the place, the idea in memory, the whole, just the word Gettysburg and all that it entails. That's really what it's supposed to be. And so that's why we have a show like AG Today that, deals with modern stuff. Anyway, enough defending myself. So yeah, I understand that it's a way to find the channel, and that's why I started doing it. But the history stuff, it sounds really like a lame excuse, but with all the behind the scenes things that I have to deal with from day to day to keep the balls in the air, ironically, the one thing I don't have time for is researching and presenting anything. And also, I never set out to be a presenter of history. I'm a student of history, just as you are. And I'm just a student who's saying to other students, hey, look what I learned, or look who I found who's going to tell us about this, that, or the other thing. And I think for people who are unqualified to go and call themselves historians, even if they throw the word public in there, I think it's a little presumptuous, and it makes me cringe a whole lot. And I don't like that, and I don't want to do that, because there's plenty of people out there who put in the hours, they put in the hard work to become a historian, and they've earned the PhD, they've earned the license to give tours here, they've earned whatever the hell they've earned that puts them in a position of not authority, but a position over us as far as information gathering and sharing goes, and interpretation goes. They've earned the right to call themselves a park ranger. There's a lot of people that put in a lot of work. For me to come along and just call myself like the bald historian and start an Instagram channel and a podcast and everything like that, and then present stuff to you. First of all, I wouldn't be able to do it on the schedule that I do it on, and therefore not make a living at it. And secondly, I'm going to lose service as I go down this road. But until I do, secondly, I just don't want to be. That's not what I'm interesting, and to explore them myself. And I know a lot of other people are interested in this stuff, and I'm here. So, and I know how to put a show together. So why not do that and share it with people who are looking for it? And that's all. I'll go down here, even though I'll probably lose service again. So that's all it's supposed to be. But that doesn't mean, there have been videos early on where I would share a little piece of history or whatever, but it's such a minefield doing that. And again, I don't have the desire to be thought of as a historian, so why am I going to put myself out there for, to be, oh, you got that wrong, or this guy doesn't know anything. Yeah, I'm a student. I'm not an expert. So you're right, I don't know anything. I'm learning. Remember, I used to say in the beginning of the podcast, I'm learning, you're learning, so let's learn together. And people liked that. I hated that, but I felt like I had to say that early on so that people, to establish that I'm not presenting you history. And even like in the case of the narratives where I'm presenting you history, I worked with historians on that. I had them proofread it. Bob Steenstra was a big help initially on those and helping me, get it all together. So, yeah, I don't rely on just myself to put that stuff out there. And I think it's worked. Ty Webb says, that was a complaint everyone had about Keaton, Mr. Mom playing Batman. I thought it was weird at first because I knew. Yeah, so Ty, I was a kid at the time, but I remember Michael Keaton, or at the time I knew Michael Keaton as Mr. Mom and, Beetlejuice. Like, he was a comedic actor. And I remember I was probably like 12, I think, when that movie came out. 11, 12, something like that. But I was, even at that age, very interested in movies and very aware of who people were. And when I saw that Jack Nicholson was going to be the Joker and Michael Keaton was going to be Batman, I was like, what the hell? And at that point, I didn't know of Tim Burton. This was the first Tim Burton movie I saw. But when it came out, the buzz about how great Michael Keaton was out there, and I went and I saw it, and I was like, he actually is really good. And that's when I realized, well, no, that's not when I realized, but it was much later when I rewatched that movie and thought about all that stuff that I realized, oh, right, he's an actor, and actors act. And he just probably got a bunch of comedic roles initially, and this was the first time, maybe not the first time, but it was, a time when people took a chance on him in a serious role, and he did a great job. So, there you go. Heinous Sinane says Michael Keaton is an American treasure. I agree. Michael Keaton don't want no scrubs. I recommend on a Monday drive, just do the drives when you feel it, or forget a schedule or number per week. Yeah, I think that's what I might do. I like the idea of just doing them when I feel it, as opposed to doing them every day. And again, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like yes, there have been people who have found the drives and subscribed, but it hasn't been it hasn't been any kind of a significant spike, and it's been a waste of gas, wear and tear, mileage, and time. Not a waste, but it hasn't paid off. If it were money spent, I would write it off, although I do write off the gas and the mileage. So it's a loss, in other words. But I still like to do them, and maybe there will be a time where I will have enough time to research one thing and share some information about it, but we'll see. Dragoon says, at least to me, gay culture all its own. Exactly. My wife has zero interest or historical interest, but has found things about Gettysburg that piques her interest. Exactly, Dragoon. And that's something that when I owned Gettysburg way back when, I recognized that. I saw that when I would go out to bars and just, sit there and start chatting it up with people, I'd often find couples, and the typical story was he was interested in the history, she just loves the town. And that got stored away somewhere, so that when it was time to plan out addressing Gettysburg, that was one of the things that stuck with me, was that there's more to this than the battlefield. And the average Joe who doesn't pay attention to much anything here's Gettysburg, they think, well, we're going to walk around, what's the fun of walking around a field with a bunch of cannons in it? And that's as deep as they go. But, the curious mind will try it out, and they'll come here and they'll visit and they'll see the history, and maybe they'll go, wow, this is kind of interesting, and they'll be shocked at how immense the battlefield is. But then they go to dinner in town, and then they walk around town, and they're like, wow, this is a really cool little town. And so, there's a culture here, and that's what I wanted to eventually get to, and that's why it took a few years for AG Today, because the time wasn't right to launch it. I wanted to do it from the beginning, but I knew that would make the audience's eyes go crossed. I needed to build the history audience first. Good morning, James. He says there's history every day. Morning drives are fun, but if there's no time, that's okay too. Yeah, it's going to have to be okay. It's not that there's no time. It's just that I could spend my time with something more productive. I gave this a couple months to see if it would be productive, and it was, but not enough. I used to fill my tank every 2 weeks from all driving that I had to do. And then when I started this, I'm filling it once, sometimes twice a week, depending on how much driving I have to do. So that, and if it were $1.80, that would be fine. But it's not $1.80; it's $3.80. So, yeah, and that's whatever. You got to try things. If you don't try, you'll never know if you like it or not, or if it works or not, or whatever. So I tried it, and now I'll continue to do it, but infrequently. Dragoon says it's nice to find a place where there's a community that celebrates what a special place this is, even beyond the history. Plus, all my normie friends are tired of me talking about Gettysburg. Yeah. Well, who was I talking about this? I was having this conversation the other day with a friend of mine. Oh, I think it was my friend Chris. She grew up here, born and raised, and she loves the town. Now, there's very few natives of any town who will tell you, that they feel lucky to have been born and raised here and that they love the town and all that jazz. But she's one of them who will. And, I was telling her, I said, what I've noticed here is that even people who aren't interested in the history seem to have a sense of propriety or custodianship over the park, which they should, because it's a national park. It's for everybody. Their taxes pay for it. It's their park just as much as it is a history nerd's park. But also, they may not know. They couldn't tell you where anything besides Devil's Den or Little Round Top is, because most likely they lost their virginity there, or at least had their first beer there. But they do have a respect for the place, and I think they realize what a great little town this is. And according to some people who've lived here for their whole life, and they're in their 50s or 60s, it was always like an interesting place. There were always tourists and everything like that, but they're saying there's something's changed about it now, and not for the worst, even though you got homeless people on the benches sometimes. But there's a different vibe, and they're not certain, but they're leaning towards optimism with that vibe, in that it's a good thing and it's going to kind of revitalize the town. And I think I agree with them. Like I feel the same sense that there is something new going on here, and I think it's because the people 45 and under who are starting businesses, they have a different way of looking at the world. They have a different way of believing in what's possible and what's not possible. They don't have that old, I call it hammers and nails way of looking at the world. Whereas if you're not using some kind of a tool and going to a specific brick and mortar place, then it's not a real job and it's not real work. I don't think people see it that way anymore. And so their imaginations are open more. And as long as they can get it off the ground, there's some really interesting businesses that are popping up and events that are popping up here. So it is a great place to live. And as small towns go, and I guarantee there's something nice about small towns, but there are a lot of small towns I visit. I'm like, I just want to visit here. I couldn't live here because what is there to do? Gettysburg, there's always something to do. Even in the dead of winter, you can find somewhere to go. And that's what I like about it. Plus, it's all the history. I love that stuff. Ty Webb says, saw an historian meme about going to school for 6 years, spending 2 years researching a paper, 2 more writing it, 1 more having it peer reviewed, to have a stranger on Twitter say, nah. Yeah, exactly. But again, that's an argument from authority too, right? Like, you can't, just because you have all that doesn't mean that you're right and that person saying nah is wrong. But I get what they're saying. Karen Sanford says, it's amazing how I can find something each time I visit that I didn't know about. Oh, Karen, I live here and I find something new every time. And those get out of the car tours, when I get to pay attention to them, I'm always learning something new that I didn't know. And I'm past the point of going, how did I not know that? How have I not heard that before? because knowing my brain, I probably have heard it before, but I just forgot it. Or I couldn't possibly have heard it before because not everybody knows everything. Random Frog says the best experts are also the most voracious learners. Yeah, absolutely. They can't stop learning. Paul says, hey, Nasanina, do they do history? Okay. Jerry Hudson, for those of us who only get to Gettysburg once or twice a year, the morning drives bring the battlefield to us so we can enjoy it even though we're not there. No, I know, Jerry, and that was the point. But there's a cost on my end to it, and it's not coming back. And unfortunately, I hate to be that way, but at the end of the day, you got bills to pay, and so you do things to try to be able to pay the bill. So if I'm gonna do something in the morning hours, I should get into the office more and start researching and writing video clips to make and narrative episodes to write. That's really my job. Again, I said this the other day, like this whole year, I kind of took a mental break so that I could hopefully get back into some sort of mood to write again. And actually, we had when I interviewed Scott Hartwig the other day, we opened up with just talking about the process of writing 2 books that are essentially 1,000 pages each, and it took him 20 years, and we talked about process, and we talked about writer's block, and all that stuff. And so a lot of the problems that I've been having, not being able to, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not being able to continue writing the narrative episodes are not uncommon, I'm glad to find out. But I don't want to take 20 years to write episode 3 because there's a bunch of episodes that need to come out. So I have to, but anyway, so this year was a transitional year for me in many ways because of moving the studio and then the house and the new relationship and the dog and a lot of things personally to get accustomed to and to get into. And then unfortunately work suffers a little bit, but now it's like I feel something's in me, something's brewing in me, and I think unfortunately, as much as I enjoy chatting with you guys and hearing from you, and that's why I'm still going to do these maybe once or twice a week, I think my time would be better spent producing more product for you guys to listen to, since after all, that is why we know each other. That's the job. Beetlejuice 2. Oh boy, why do they have to ruin good things by bringing them back 40 years later? Dogface, never heard of it. I was like, okay. Eric, espero que todos tengan un gran día. You too. Hope everyone has a great day. Same to you, Eric. Yes. All right. Interesting. If I use the vulgar version of gosh darn, YouTube deletes my comment. Really? That's weird. I do have certain terms blocked, but not that. Jerry says Michael Keaton was awesome in The Founder. Oh, I haven't seen that yet, but I heard he's really good in that. Still trying to talk hubby into moving to Gettysburg, says Fraser Baby. See, that I don't understand. Why would he need talking into? Where do you live, Fraser Baby, and what does he love so much about it? Paul says, back in 99, 2000, the parade, we did a timeline from Rev War to 90s after the parade, the Dominant House for the outside seating. We did great talking about elevation, uniforms, gear, GI. There you go. See, always something to do. Oh, Fraser left. Ty Webb says, the Devil's Den sounds like a Catholic euphemism for someone's private. So maybe losing your virginity is sort of poetic. Yeah, maybe. Random says, if everyone in the world was capable of doing a cost-benefit analysis like you, Matt, we'd be in a much better place. The drives are great, but we get it. Thanks. Wouldn't it be great if somebody in the government could do that, Random Frog? Jerry says, Matt, you're the engineer on this train, so whatever needs to be done on your end going forward to make it dressing edge. But yeah, I know. Thank you, Jerry. I know. Thank you. Yeah, no idea who set it up, and then just got to us. Okay, yeah. Hennessy said, Matt, why not drive? Cast if you want to drive. You're literally speaking to your audience. It's a decompression of sorts, I'm sure, a sounding board. Yeah, absolutely, Hennessy. That's exactly what it is, and it has value to me personally, for sure. But like, there's a lot of things that have a personal value that probably take time out of my day that I should be devoting to something else. Like this morning, when I got up, I watched Get Gotti on Netflix, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, start watching it. It's really good. And especially if you grew up in the New York metropolitan area during that time and you remember watching the news, definitely watch Get Gotti on Netflix. Anyway, I'm like 15 minutes into it, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I'm up early. It's like, it was 7:30 or 7 when I woke up. It was 7:30 when I, realized this. This is stupid. I went up to take a shower, and I came down, and the dog had torn up another pillow, so I had that to clean, and that threw me off a little bit, and so I didn't start as early as I wanted to. And because I'm doing this, I'm starting even later. My own fault, my own problem, but I haven't seen you guys in a couple of days, and I missed you. So here I am. Barbara says, the only remake I ever liked more than the original is Mutiny on the Bounty. Yes. Mutiny on the... You're talking the remake with, not Christian Slater, what's his name? Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. That was very good. There's like a million remakes of that movie, though. Jennifer says, yeah, the Gottis lived here in Long Island. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I remember when he was finally put away on the news, his daughter, I think Victoria, she's like on there yelling, and she's like, my father was a saint. It's like, what is your definition of a saint, honey? Because he ain't one of them. Hannah Sanene says, I should stop going to the gym. I could better spend that time not drinking. Say what now? No, don't stop going to the gym. Keep going to the gym. Stop drinking. The morning drives, especially on Monday, is free therapy. All right, so maybe I'll do them on Mondays. Hannah Sanena says, why not change the name of the live cast to What Do You Want from Walmart? I'm sure it'll stop all criticism. Oh, criticisms, they bother me for 10 seconds, and then I realize that person has no life, that they're going to take the time to criticize something that they're getting for free. I mean, really, think about it. Like, you're getting something for free. Loser. And you're criticizing it. Like, just walk away. So, yeah, and you can't do this stuff without expecting criticism. Although it is, sometimes, I gotta say this, though, when you do see a criticism, especially a really, like, wild-eyed one, it kind of makes me sit back and smile, and I'm like, I live rent-free in this person's head. And they're watching my video or listening to my podcast or whatever and commenting on it is actually helping me with the algorithm while they think it's hurting me. And then, you sit back and you kind of just smile and laugh. I think at least as far as, because even the bad comments have good results as far as the algorithm goes. Which is why when I see something I don't like, I never comment on it. Because also, what good is it going to do? Like, it's not going to change that person. Oh, the Brando one. I haven't seen the Brando one, Barbara, of Mutiny on the Bounty. I'll go check that out. Paul says, still think you going the local restaurants would... Yeah, I'm... So there's there's an idea that we've been working on for the last year and a half or so, for local businesses. And we had a meeting the other night, for AG Today. I don't know if I told you this or not. Yeah, I think Sunday night we had this meeting, and I said, look, you know, let's have fun with this still, but let's not only do it for fun. Let's start to provide some value to the local community, because we're more known outside of Gettysburg than inside Gettysburg, and that's silly, and that should change, because I kind of see addressing Gettysburg as it is now and as it will be as I grow it, as like Gettysburg's television and radio network, in which, but we broadcast to the world, like literally the world can watch or listen to what we do, and it comes from Gettysburg. And okay, nobody's going to understand that these are pedestrian walk. What the okay, whatever. So what was I saying? So that means that we need to, get the local businesses to be aware of us and to participate with us and to advertise with us and see the value in the amount of numbers that we can bring them on a monthly basis if they run commercials on Ask a Gettysburg Guide or something like that. And we need to grow the AG Today audience. And so we've got, ideas for segments. None of these changes are going to come in until January. But, segments, we're going to have a segment with Eric Dorr once a month called What's New at the Museum. And he's going to bring in a new artifact and show us and tell us a little bit about it. Just a small segment, 2 minutes, nothing huge, just a little taste. So, things like that. And then if any other business wanted to do something like that. As we were saying before, Gettysburg is like its own culture. It is a fun place, an interesting place, a very vibrant place to live. And there are a lot of things to see and do. Cindy and I went driving around. There's this property out in Biglerville, and it's out there. But it's beautiful. And we have so many ideas for it. And we're like, okay, but it's $4 million. Like, she's like, no, there's a way we could come up with that. I'm like, there's no friggin' way we can come up with $4 million plus the money that we're going to need to renovate it, plus the money that we're going to need, and then she started like throwing out, well, no, you could do this, you could do that, you could do it. And I'm like, you are brilliant. And a godsend for sure. So, like, why did I bring that up? Because that had nothing to do with that's a me thing. I'm talking about the town. Anyway, there's a lot of things going on in the town that you need to know about, and we want to be the vehicle that brings it to you. And we want the town to understand that, yes, we like to joke around, we like to have fun, but my theory was, and through doing it with the show, I think I've proven myself correct, that if you have fun and your guests have fun with you, people are more apt to want to support them. When we have authors and we talk about whatever the book is, sometimes we spend the whole time talking about the subject matter of the book, but many other times I'm more interested in the author. And so we talk a little bit about the book, but I think it's a better sell for the book to introduce you to the person behind it and get to see them for who they are. And and I've heard from For the Historian that when we have authors on, they sell out of those books, and which is great. But I've never heard anybody say, I won't buy that book because you guys have fun. I mean, maybe some people do think that way. But anyway, it is a fun place. There's people here with great sense of humor and a lot of fun. And so we want to do. Anyway, so we're going to work on the things like that, and we're going to make AG Today at its core the same, but it's going to be a little more professional, a little more polished, um, and hopefully not as much a waste of your time as it's been so far. Wait, I'm trying to find where I left off in the comments here. Sorry. Kevin says, Matt, I recall when you began the drives, you're remarking about how they were therapeutic for you because your therapist died. Yes. Yeah. And really, when I went to the therapist, all I ever did was just talk like we talk here. You know, it helps me to work out dilemmas or questions in my mind to hear myself talk. And if I can have somebody bounce back some advice or ideas, that helps too. And that's really all I ever did with my therapist. It was just like somebody you paid to sit there and listen to you talk and give you good advice. And yeah, he was a great guy. We stayed in touch even when I wasn't officially an active patient. He just, he was just a nice guy. He would check in on me, and we'd have a conversation. I think he would just call for the laughs, because I always told him, I was like, I think I need to be charging you because you sit here and laugh the whole time, and I'm pouring out my heart to you here, so I think you need to be paying me $95 an hour. Addressing Matt's stomach. Ugh. Tell you, my stomach is growling. I haven't had breakfast yet. I had to. Oh, remember how I told you I had to have a colonoscopy? That was yesterday. But there's a story. Oh, there's a story, which we'll be talking about on AG today, of course. Hannah said, all the gym drinking comments means is you can give up anything and start doing anything. The drive isn't ruining your productivity. It's something else. Gotcha. Well, yeah, there is something else. I can't focus. So I don't know if it's depression or if it's, which I don't think it is, because I don't have the other symptoms of depression. And I've got a pretty intimate relationship with depression, so I'm pretty sure it's not that. I would recognize it. Something going on in the brain, like growing in the brain. I hate to even say it. Who knows? But I have a hard time focusing. Everybody says, "Ow, you just got too much on your plate." And maybe that's what it is. I'm spread too thin, and I can't focus on any one thing because there's another thing sitting there on my other shoulder saying, you need to pay attention to me also. And then I stop doing the one thing and go to the other. It sounds like ADD. I don't know. Jerry, I was amazed when in Gettysburg, while talking to many local people, that they were not aware. Yeah, because, well, first of all, local businesses aren't paying attention. They're running their businesses. They don't have the time to listen to podcasts. They don't pay attention to this stuff. And they're there to make money off the history crowd. They're not there to be historians and to be in on the history stuff. They're entrepreneurs. They're running businesses. They can't focus on that. Also, I don't do any local outreach. I don't do anything locally. The local papers don't even know about us, and they haven't covered us or anything. And I don't release press releases saying, hey, look at me. My initial goal was not to be known widely in Gettysburg. It was to be known outside of Gettysburg. Because, again, like back to the conversation we had the other day, the print publications, they're basically preaching to the choir. They're preaching to the people who are already here. And but they don't realize is that the people who are already here already made all their reservations, so advertising in them is moot. And uh, so I'm like, I don't need to worry about the tourist who's there. I don't initially. I need to worry about people outside who have an interest in the place that want to be there, and I need to say, here I am. Look at the battlefield. Look at the town. Look at this place. Look at that place. Let's talk to this historian who's around here. Let's talk to that historian who's around here. Let me shine a light to the rest of the world on Gettysburg. And now I've done that. Now it's time for me to turn to the businesses, turn inward and say, hey, 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 if you were a hot dog. No, I was turn to the businesses internally and say, okay, so for the last 5 years, I've been working at building this up. Here's what I've built. Here's the circulation of this magazine, that magazine. You're paying X amount of dollars for advertising there. What are you getting back from it? And when they say, well, not much, but we do it because it's tradition or whatever, which is some of the things I've heard, I say, okay, well, I can put you in front of this many ears and eyes every month, which is astronomically more than what their circulation is per month. And like some of the circulations of these magazines in a year are what I pull in a month. So, and I'm going to charge you far less than that. And we're going to let everybody know about you. Now, there's, of course, there's certain ones that don't need advertising. The Dobbin House is never going to need to advertise on Addressing Gettysburg. The Farnsworth House is never going to need to advertise on Addressing Gettysburg. We'll do things with them, we'll of course, obviously talk about them and stuff. They're never going to need to do that. But, a lot of people from New York and New Jersey who've been to Pennsylvania before, they'll say to me, hey, Matt, I'm coming to Gettysburg, never been there before, been to Pennsylvania, pizza always sucks. Where do I go for good pizza when we're in town? Well, I know where to go. And those people it would behoove them to advertise on the show, because there's a lot of people, pizza snobs like myself, from New York and New Jersey and Philly, who want to know where the good pizza is. So yeah, so we're working on that. Not a waste of my time, man. I enjoy watching the productions you do grow and develop much as I enjoy the content. Thank you. Gotta find and post the video from the 160th in year reaction to the VAT 69 for everyone to hear to see. The who? Oh, and your reaction to the VAT 69. Oh, I didn't know there was a video. Thanks for mentioning the colonoscopy. My wife just heard that and reminded me I need to schedule mine. Sorry, Dragoon. Hey, listen, I'll tell you something. Make sure when you schedule yours that your doctor codes it properly as a screening, if it is in fact a screening, because if not, then they charge you $4,000. So needless to say, I did not go through with it. Alex says, you're just recharging the way you need to recharge. Yeah, I am, Alex. You're right. I didn't know that, though, until about a week ago. It dawned on me that this past year I was kind of just recharging. Matt, you may need Adderall. Not a lot, but not kidding. No, I agree with you, Hannah Sanene. I mentioned it to my doctor, and she's like, well, you got to go to a neurologist and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, forget it. I've lived with it this long. Plus, I'm afraid, I don't know, whatever. Kevin says, by the way, your interview with Hartwig was top-notch. I told Scott that I thought the one he did with Preservation Maryland was great, but I think yours tops that. Kevin, I mean, come on. Jerry Hudson says, just curious, where do you guys go for a good pizza in Gettysburg? My favorite is Antica Napoli, but there's about 3 or 4 other places that are in the ballpark of Antica Napoli. But absolutely try to Antica Napoli. It's a nice family-owned little pizzeria. Yeah, I was just in there yesterday, actually, And we were talking to the owner, and I was like, I love this place because it reminds me of the pizzerias I grew up going to back in Jersey. The food, or the quality, the taste, the flavor is, as close to Jersey as I'm gonna get here, and it's like basically the same, and it's what I'm used to and what I like. So, yeah, Antica Napoli. Philly has the worst cheesesteaks, oddly enough. The best Philly cheesesteaks are literally in every pizzeria in South Jersey. Yeah, Hannah Nene, it's funny. The first time I had a Philly cheesesteak, I was like, this is like Steakums and Cheese Whiz. This is gross. And it was from one of, I can't remember which one it was, but it was from one of the famous ones. Was it Pat's? Is Pat's? I can't even remember now. But it was on a field trip, and we were right by it, and I was like, oh. And yeah, and I think it's because I got spoiled by the cheesesteaks in New Jersey. Like, they improved upon them, and they're much better. Pretty much anywhere you go besides Philly. I mean, unless I haven't had the good Philly cheesesteak, although it was the famous one. James says, Matt, I come there for every anniversary and avoid town because it's too crowded and there's nowhere to park. Where do I park? Ah, yes. Well, James, there are places to park. You just have to know. Well, see, I can't tell you because then it would be a problem, because then people would know to go there and they would go there. Let me put it to you like this. Some places, let's say, I'm not going to say which one, right? But let's say a bank. A bank has a sign, and it says, bank parking only. Violators will be towed. Okay. What time does the bank close? 5 o'clock? 6 o'clock? Who's going to call the cops on you after 6 o'clock? Nobody from the bank. They're not there. So, things like that. So you park there. When are you going to go to dinner? Probably 6, 7, 8 o'clock. So you park in the bank and you walk across the street and you go to the bar. I'll tell you this because I don't think it's a problem. If you're on Steinway Avenue and you don't mind, strolling around the parking lot behind ABC, there's a hospital parking lot behind the Cottage Creperie and Hunt's Fries, like behind that row of houses. On the other side of the alley, there is parking there. Same thing, violators will be, medical parking only, but they're gone at 5 o'clock. So who's going to call the tow truck on you? So, you just got to think like that. There's other places too that there are no signs that say do not park here, or parking, violators will be whatever. And because of that, I'm not going to give that away. But if you look, and remember, I always tell you, this is what I always tell you. The key to navigating this town is learning the alleyways, okay? So that's your clue, and use your brain to figure out the rest. That's what I'll tell you. And just make sure that you're reading the signs and thinking outside the box. Like, read what the signs say and take them literally. And yeah. Dogface makes a good point. Parking where Dollar General is on Buford Ave is a good spot to walk. Yeah, if you're going to be spending time in that area of town, the west end of town, that would be one place. Barbara says, I've researched Pat's versus Geno's. That's it, Pat's and Geno's. The only main difference is one chops their meat, the other uses slices. I don't eat cheesesteaks, I like hoagies. Hannah says, 2 profits from a traveling mechanic. Make a laminated paper that says property maintenance do not tow, or carry cones. I've parked in most ridiculous places. That's a great idea. Hunt's has great Philly. Yes, Hunt's has great Philly cheesesteaks. A lot of places have great Philly cheesesteaks except Pat's and Geno's. It's amazing. All right, guys, I'm going to get going. I'm going to go in and get some breakfast here. Got to do some work before Dr. James comes in to do the colorization show. First Lieutenants, you'll get to watch that live. And that's about it. You guys have yourselves a great day. I will see you next time. Yeah, Paul, I wouldn't walk on the alleyways during certain times of day in certain parts of town. That's just a little piece of advice there. Okay, you guys have yourselves a good one.